Hey, Tracy, you're muted.
Okay, how's that?
That's better.
No, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No, I can. Okay.
Okay, good.
Wait, block my terrible dog.
Hey, Paul, you're muted too.
There we go.
All
Try
the
to
best
get that
people are
bright light
muted.
off my head. All
How's
right.
how's it going, my friend?
I'm well.
Good.
I've had I was very happy to see this invitation because I'm totally in the mode.
Oh,
I
good.
I'll just tell the super brief version. So, I'm getting either from LinkedIn or recruiters, you get all these emails. And it seems like they're recruiters trying to fill slots by presenting candidates, but they know nothing about the job and they're not really engaged with the process. But I got one yesterday and I said, okay, I'll schedule a call. And I got on the phone. This woman, she'd been working with the company for 5 years. She knew the company well. She knew the executives well. She knew this job by heart. So it was a really productive conversation.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it gave me it restored a bit of my faith in the process. So I'm just like, well, am I just throwing my information out there and maybe one day something will happen? Yeah, forget it.
I hate to say it, but it's the
Well,
worst part about all of this.
okay, good. I know that's a large part of it, but there's got to be a way to break through and make a connection. Well, and usually obviously you do that with people but this is a case where no one knew anyone.
And that can happen, right? Like that can happen. It can totally happen. It's harder to do. Rachel, why? I don't know why you look like you're animated right now. You're so funny. Um,
Believe me, if I knew, I would be changing it.
you weren't
can't make it
animated an
stop.
hour ago, and now you're animated.
A lot can happen in 30 minutes, apparently.
Okay,
I'm working on it. Don't let it distract you.
okay. I'll try. But anyways, um, listen, Paul. I mean, this can happen. A lot of times, I'm seeing people are using their network more and more and more
Yep.
because this is the. There we go. This is the piece
There she
that's
is.
getting
I'm
harder
just going
and
to shut
harder
my
for
door.
people.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been trying, but I just did it this morning, actually, because I noticed in LinkedIn that the hiring manager for the job I just mentioned,
Mhm.
worked at a company called TrapX, and I knew another guy from TrapX who I happened to run into. So I called the other guy this morning to say, hey, do you know what's his name? And he said, oh, yeah. I said, well, is he a good guy? Should I go work for him? You know? So that started the conversation. Then he said, well, but what are you trying to do? He said, maybe we need someone like that. Right. So that was good. I just feel like I don't do enough. That's one of the reasons I'm here on this call, because I just feel like I'm not particularly good at this and I just don't do enough.
So, okay. I was going to talk about goal setting around the SMART goal methodology, but you know what? Let's this is really a Q&A.
Good.
Let's take questions. So, you don't think you're doing enough? Tell me everything.
Well, yes,
Tell me
but
everything that you are doing.
okay. I am when I get the LinkedIn things. So I'm doing they offer a free month of premium in LinkedIn. So I
Mhm.
did that. what
Mhm.
the hell, at least I guess I can see who's looking at my profile, right?
Yeah, that helps.
Right. And then not because it, well, and then when I see the link, the job alerts that match the jobs I say I'd like to do, I look at those.
Okay.
Uh, um,
But wait, I'm
Sometimes
gonna
I
stop you for
apply.
2 seconds. I'm gonna stop
Okay.
you for 2 seconds. When you see the people looking at your profile, do you connect with them and or message them?
Um, no, but it sounds like I should be. So I'm going to make a note of that. When they look, just fire it up,
So
put out a request.
yeah, and try. So now when you're on a free version of LinkedIn, I don't know if anyone is aware of this. I think I've talked about this with maybe one or two of you. But when you're on a free version of LinkedIn, they have started to limit your capability to attach a mess. Yeah, Paul's nodding. Attach a message along with your invite. Um, but if you, I think it's like what, Paul, 10 a month or something like that.
Oh, it's
Um,
very limited, and you
it's
need
pretty
to be.
limited, and they cut down on the characters. So your space for the
Yeah.
um your space for your message is even smaller. I think they cut down the amount of characters. I think it went from like 180 to 170 or something like that. I might be wrong on the numbers, but it's a lot smaller than what it used to be. Um, but I always say if you can attach a message, I always think that that's better. I don't know why LinkedIn is doing this. They said that their reasoning was for spam. Yes, Rachel. No,
They're trying to drive subscriptions.
Exactly.
Oh,
They're
God,
I
making
know they
money.
are.
but that's the model is ostensibly to prevent spam and like a cluttered inbox. That's a great excuse, but it really comes down to they're trying to drive subscriptions so that they can create more revenue. Yes, it does have an added benefit of cutting down on spam from people who are not really interested and are just trying to get a bunch of numbers in and their spreadsheets. But it does kind of throw a wrench into the rest of us who maybe are between jobs and can't
Right.
afford to pay a bunch of money every month.
Right.
Well, and also like university students, right? Fresh college grads, things like that, right? I think about people who just got laid off, or I think about like the single mom, I mean, there are bits of people, right? Like different audiences that really can't afford. That's why I've been trying when they send me the thing, go here's a free month of premium. I try to think of somebody who I can gift it to
Yep.
because I just feel like there are added benefits to the premium. Like I said, the insights, look, so who's looking at your profile, why, right? Trying to connect with them and talk to them because I think that there's some added benefit to that. If you can get some feedback from them. Oh, yeah, I wanted to look at your resume. No, your profile didn't appeal to me. Why? What is it lacking? Right? If you can always get something concrete, even if it's not something positive, yes, I want you to come work for us. Okay, but why not? Right? What is it that I don't have to hit the ground running? What is it that I'm missing? That is just as much beneficial to me as it is, if it's something positive. Yes, I want you, we want you to come work for us. Great. Because you could still do something with that. There's still a tweak that can be done. And that to me, that's just as important because this is about a process that you're always tweaking. You
Hmm.
always have to keep learning. You always have to keep doing. And this is why I think setting goals is so important because once you have the big goal, right? The big outcome goal that you know what you want, then it's easier to take. And this is why I always use the SMART goal methodology. It's easier to then take that and try and chunk it down, make it smaller, make it easier, because this is overwhelming. Looking at the jobs boards is overwhelming. Sending stuff in and feel like you're sending it into outer space and not getting responses, overwhelming. Sending messages to recruiters and not always getting answers, overwhelming. It starts to wear and tear on you. It starts to really make you feel like you're the piece of dirt when you're not.
Can I ask you a question? So
That's what you're here for.
guys, Valerie prompted me to think about this, which is And I'm older. I'm quite a bit older than the rest of y'all. So my attitude is probably,
I don't think by much, Paul. Don't worry.
all right, I just turned 72. So
I'll
yeah,
let you have that one.
yesterday. So anyway, no, but so
Mhm.
what occurred to me when Valerie was talking about goals and refining them is this. So I take that to mean maybe get really clear about what kind of job you really want. Because for me,
Uh-huh.
I'm not trying like to build up a career for the next 20 years. No, I want another job to do for 3 or 4 years. And then I'm out of here. I mean, I'm probably not going to be doing it in the same way. So my question to you, Valerie, is this. So I have a call later today with the CEO of a company. So I got a meeting with the CEO. It's pretty good. And but I'm thinking to myself, what I've learned about the company is they've been through the ringer. They've burned through 20 million in venture funding, barely produced any revenue. He's the third CEO. So this is a risky venture, right?
Yeah, and VC funding is real hard to come by right now.
Right. So what I'm thinking is,
Holy cannoli.
so my question to you is, I'm not going to be aggressive with him per se, but I think the questions I'm going to be asking this guy are really more like, hey, you're the third CEO. uh, you know, this sounds like a rescue operation, and
Mhm.
you think we can make it? Number one, that's a nice way to ask it. And then it's like, well, okay, how long is there any cash? I mean, how long can you last? Because if I'm going to sign up for this, I don't want it to be a suicide mission.
Uh, yeah, I hate to say this, but I talked to a guy yesterday who kind of did sign up for a suicide mission.
Yeah,
And now he's looking for a
out
job
of
because,
desperation.
yeah, because, well, not even out of, I shouldn't even say it's out of desperation. It's because they ran out of funding. And now the VC guys literally laughed in their faces and were like, no, you're not getting any more money. They ran out of capital. And that was it. They had to call it quits. And everyone went bye bye. And you don't want to go head first into a situation like that because
No,
the funding is real hard to come by. The banking world is in upside down. I talked to someone else yesterday who worked for Citi. I mean, and then the other thing is AI is throwing a monkey wrench into that as well. Because now there's data that I literally just ran across on Instagram yesterday. I believe it was from Harvard Business Review. Took a screenshot of it because I didn't even get a chance to really dive into it yet. But it's showing that people from the banking world who have skills in AI and tech going into the tech world now. They're
of
leaving
course,
banking and they're saying it's a bloodbath.
because they can make $1 million a year
Mm-hmm,
for starters.
mm-hmm. So you really don't want to dive headfirst into something that's like, yep, that's just going to go in like a month or two. And
Right.
then,
Six
yeah,
months or 6 months.
yeah.
No, no. And well, there's a pretty good derivative of it, which is if the revenue isn't there at this point, if the revenue isn't there, if the revenue hasn't been growing, you know, it's really risky. It's for me, it's too risky.
For you,
If
I
I
think
was
it's
in
too
my
risky.
30s, it would be one thing.
If you were in your 30s, I hate to say it, it depends. If you had a family, I would still say it's too risky.
Correct. That's right.
Um,
It's too risky. It's too risky.
I
So
think it's
anyway,
just
so I think
risky.
I'll be much more measured with this guy and just I'll ask some. I don't even look. I know he's
I
the
would ask the tough
CEO.
questions, Paul. I wouldn't hesitate in asking the tough questions. I would not be hard on selling myself because I would be a little more like thinking to myself, you need to sell this to me, then I need to
Right,
sell myself to you.
100%.
Right? Do I want this? And give me some damn good reasons why. Otherwise, um, why am I coming into this? Right? Like, why should I give up my search? And I hate to say it, even though, nobody loves searching, right? When we don't, let's be real. But why should I give that up if I can find something potentially better or less risky to come into this and have it explode? Sell this to me is my line of thinking. And if they can't, then bye bye. It's okay. And
Well, the
something
two
else
ways
that
you do that are with a lot of pay is one,
but can they afford that? No offense. No
Right.
offense to you, but if they don't have the capital,
They can't do it.
they
Well, I
can't do
think they
it.
have
Then
some, but I just don't know. My feeling is, I don't think they have a ton.
well, if there's an end date on that, they're gonna run out. They're not getting more. They're not making money. How can they promise out huge paychecks?
They can't, and they
Exactly.
probably
That's my
won't.
point.
So they'll probably be offering, first of all, they're calling it a sales role and not an alliances role. So they'll probably just be offering a pretty aggressive sales
Sales
plan,
job.
50-50, you know, half commission, which I've done in the past, but I don't know. It's going to be, I think it's a little edgy. It
You were
sounds like,
looking for a little more partnerships, alliances type.
correct. And there's, well, now I just, so I asked this guy on the phone that I said, so what are you doing? I said, what's your stage and how many people do you have? Stage C, Series C funding, 150 people. Okay. I said, all right, wow, that's pretty good. I didn't realize you were that big. What's going on with the revenue? 20 million in ARR. That's pretty good after 3 years. That's quite good. So I said, oh, huh, interesting. What do you, but, and I know where you're at. It's Series C with 150 people. What are you doing about alliances? And he said, not much. I said, well, you should be.
I mean, I hate to say it, alliances would
Oh,
be
this is someone else. This is a better
okay,
one.
but I'm just saying, I'm just thinking, you know what? If the other guy's not doing anything about alliances though either, wouldn't that be something that would help them?
Well, of course, it would. To your point, though, I'm more worried about it being a suicide mission.
Oh, I agree, but I'm just thinking to myself out loud, wouldn't that be something that would be beneficial to them to make more money?
Big time. Well, I think it usually is, but the question is, does someone in their management team, do they think so too? Do they understand what it
I
even is?
know sometimes it's a hard sell. I understand where you're going with that. So to your point, something that you said, having a target for your resume. So now this is something when I've worked with each of you, and Rachel, you're going to learn this when doing the resume. Now, yes, having the target is extremely important because one, it's about who you're talking to. Two, it's about having that big end goal. Because if you know where it is that you want to make that nice soft landing, yeah, I said nice soft, not hard. Um, when you make that nice soft landing, I mean, you know where you want to go. That's your big end goal. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a company identified in whole, right? But you
Yeah.
have an idea of what this role could look like. It doesn't mean I want to work at doing this. It could mean maybe potentially work here, maybe potentially work here, but these are the types of roles that kind of speak to what it is that I'm looking for.
Mm,
So if you don't have that target identified, that's when I
yeah,
say
you
can't even
need,
touch the materials yet. Can't even touch.
no, you definitely need to have it identified.
You
Well,
have to.
and again, it's probably a benefit of older age, but since I've been doing it and at times have done it well and successfully, I know what it is. I know what it looks like. I know what it can produce for the company, right? I know enough about it. So I can, well, I can say, so are you doing this or not? Are you doing this? What do you mean? Well, I mean this. And and if they're not, I said, well, Jesus, you should be.
Absolutely.
So, and you should talk more to me about doing it because I could probably help you.
If they're not open to it, though, sometimes it's the big heart.
No, if they're not, it's not going to happen.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, if they're not, and you can tell that pretty quickly, I think, right? You can find out pretty quickly. If you ask strong enough questions, you can find out real fast, right?
And that's something else that I strongly engage with people in too when I'm coaching them and when I'm doing interview practice with people. Is the type of questions that you ask because that is just so important. I can't emphasize it enough. The things that you can pull out in an interview. Now, can you pull out everything and figure out every red flag? Unfortunately not. But try and get as many things as possible I think that's so important because they need to sell this opportunity to you as much as you need to sell yourself to them. You have to remember that when you're doing that, it's really, really important because you're also interviewing them and you have to be able to interview back. So the types of questions you ask have to be those types. Some people will ask really softball questions. Oh, what's the big, well, we haven't talk about pay. That's a whole other drama. Um, like what are the benefits like? Or you know what I mean? Like what's the vacation structure like? How many days PTO or really softball questions? You want to know like management structure. Who would I be working for? What's their management style? Really tougher questions. And then, if you're able to meet with that person, then ask them even tougher questions. Where do you see this role going? Where do you think, what does success look like in this role? How would I be judged for success?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean,
All
I,
of those.
yeah, I just said, well, so how will I be paid? I mean, what is the pay? What's the pay structure?
Hmm.
And that recruiter who I said was really good, she got right into it.
Good.
So that was good.
That's good because some recruiters won't touch it.
No. No, well, no, no. I think for all of us on this call, I mean, look, you know what you're capable of. Hopefully, on some days you feel confident about it, strong about it, right? Not always, but sometimes at least. And
We're
so,
human, right?
yeah, and so you can, you got to stand up for that because otherwise, you're just like a supplicant, like an applicant, and oh yeah, please take my info and consider me or something, So,
It's not good.
no,
You don't want to
I think you
do
need,
that.
the other thing is like, well, okay. So you're doing this with revenue, you're doing this, you're doing this. What's gonna make you break through? Is it just grinding out more and more revenue, which it could be? Is it capturing, a percentage of the logos that are in the field you want, you need it to be, so you can cross the chasm, as it were, so you can be recognized as a leader, right? I mean, what is it in your mind? What's the breakthrough? Because I want to know, well, because what I'm thinking is, well, can I make that breakthrough happen?
And that's always important to know, right? I think these are, again, for everyone, good questions to ask, right? What is the thing that they're looking for to make someone stand out in that role? And can you do it? Is it
Can I do it? Because if I can't do it, I'm not even going to say I can, because it's not going to work.
no, and that's so uncomfortable. Oh my God. I remember, I'll tell you guys a real quick story. I was recruited out of one role and put into another, in another organization, and they wanted me to do a transformation, we'll say loosely, of sorts in that organization. And I was so young, I did not vet them hard enough at all. And when I went in there to do it, they just gave me so much pushback on all the ideas and all the things I had. And there were so many things that were so wrong in there. It wasn't even funny. Um, I ended up being there literally like 3 weeks. Couldn't make anything happen. You couldn't have turned poo into poo. I mean, it was so bad. It was so bad.
If they're not willing to give the tools that you need to do the job that they hired you to do, then it's time to cut and run. Like,
Yeah. And I was
you
like,
know,
listen, you don't want to do this. You don't want to hear this. You don't want me to do this. You don't want me to do this. So and so is doing this and she shouldn't be doing that. No, well, she's been here forever. She's always done that. Listen, it doesn't matter how long she's been here. You want me to be able to bring this to that has to stop.
mhm.
This can't happen. well, you're not, you know what, you're just not you're not a good fit. Okay, you know what, you're right. This isn't a good fit at all because you don't want things to happen. You're stuck in your ways, and that's fine. Bye. Have a nice life.
Mhm.
Sorry,
Mm.
not sorry.
Yeah, don't pretend that you're hiring somebody to do the next steps that you need to do to grow the business if you're not willing to do those next steps.
Yep.
And
So
at least be open and investigate, you know?
let's not, let's be real here. You're not willing to change.
Mhm.
You're not willing to change. So if you're not willing to change,
So
see ya.
Valerie, I mean, how much, so for us, we're on the outside trying to get in. I mean,
Yep.
that's how I see myself. I'm on the outside. I really want a job. I want a paycheck again.
You all got one.
So
You
how
all
much,
got there.
what?
You all got there.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, you know, like my effect on any company that I'm approaching, right? Because that's in most cases, well, in a lot of cases, we're approaching them. You know,
Yes.
we're approaching them.
Yes.
We need a job, blah, blah,
Yes.
whatever. And so I don't know how much effect we can have on them. But I think with our questions, we can figure out pretty quickly if they are open, to your point, like Tracy, if they're open, if they're willing to do anything, right? I
Right.
think you can get a sense pretty quickly.
Mm.
And then I don't know. I mean, telling them they're closed-minded or stupid or whatever, I don't. I'm just like, well, okay, that this
Well,
actually isn't so
you don't have
interesting.
to verbalize that.
No,
Um,
No, you
but
definitely don't verbalize it, but
you have to make your exit strategy and go someplace where you're going to be appreciated, you're going to be able to grow,
Yeah,
you know.
if it's not,
Don't
if you don't,
don't assume that you're wrong in that instance.
no, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
you have to go with your gut on that always. And that's why I tell people all the time when I'm coaching them, what did your gut tell you? They're not willing to give me the tools. It's not a good fit. Listen, in that instance, you have to go with that because who was there? You or me? You. And I'm believing you. You have to go with your gut on that. If they are not willing to either give you the tools, listen, let you grow, do the things necessary, answer the questions. If they evade the questions, holy cow, that's a red flag.
Mhm.
That's so bad. It's not even funny.
Mhm.
If they can't do any of these things, then you're in the wrong place. Listen to your gut and get the heck up out of there. I mean, be like, thank you, but listen, maybe this isn't going to be a great fit for me after all. I appreciate the opportunity. It was lovely to meet you and speak with you, but maybe I need to take my name out of the running for this role. And there's nice ways of doing it instead of being like, see you later, loser, right? Peace out. Don't do that because then you're going to ruin your reputation. People talk to people.
Right.
So,
I was in an interview once, and I'll be brief, but third interview for what was basically a sales support position. So they're like, yeah, so you need to handle all the incoming phone calls, all the data entry. You're supporting a staff that's out on the road. They took me into this file room that was all paper. They had just bought a computer system and they
Oh,
wanted
no.
me to take the paper files and to create them a database while doing all these other roles. But the reason why they had to have 3 interviews is because the president of the company had a temper and he used to swear and throw things across the office.
Wonderful.
And they were like you seem like pretty like chill, like that wouldn't bother you. And I was like, well, that's about him and his apparent personality defect, but he's the president of the company. And I know I can support all these people, and I know I could do the job at the desk, and
Wow.
I know I could empty that file room and make you a database. But what I would need is a pretty significant salary increase to take on all of that stress.
And not have many
And
files thrown at me.
yeah, and I was like, I can duck. I'm okay. Like I don't care that this is what you're putting out there. And the guy's like, please, and I was like, listen, for a lot of money, I'll take a lot of BS, and for a little bit of money, I'll take a little bit of BS. So if you think you can afford me, please call me back because I know I can do this job. But I'm not going to do it for a lateral move. you're telling me before I get there that this guy is going to try and give me a stroke every single day. Like, that's not normal. And anybody who
No.
shows up that wants to put themselves in that position, you really need to think long and hard about that. But so it was just somebody that I walked away from because I was like, wow, all the parts of the job that I knew I could excel at, but there was that huge, huge red flag right there. And the fact that they weren't willing to compensate people for that stress level, that's okay. I'll go find something else. And I did,
And sometimes
but
it's not worth it.
it's
Seriously.
not.
You
Yeah.
and you, but you have to know you and know when it's time to cut and run and what you
Mhm.
can tolerate, because what we can tolerate is different for all of us. Go ahead,
Right.
Rachel.
It's just something that Tracy said about I could do this job, but I wasn't going to be compensated for the things that made it difficult for me to do that job. Just kind of crossed my mind that maybe that's like a different layer to goal setting.
Yeah.
I don't know, because you were saying earlier that having that big goal, having that overarching target that you're aiming for, it doesn't have to be hyper specific or anything like I want to work for this company with this person. But more of a, this is the kind of thing I'm aiming for, and this is what I'm going to be aiming my resume for. This is what I'm going to be tailoring my cover letters for, or the personal development things that I do on the side. I'm going to make sure they're all aimed in that direction. One of those smaller goals should maybe be sitting down and being like, what am I not willing to tolerate anymore? And
So that's one of the
Tracy
things,
and I
yes.
are on the same page here, where sometimes we can be a little desperate and be like, I really want a job. Let's go take this one because I'll be good at it. And it's easy
Mhm.
money. I can just, show up to work, get a paycheck, whatever. But are we able to make that sustainable? Are we able to keep the big goal in mind instead of getting distracted by the immediate smaller goal of like, oh, money, oh, health benefits, oh, retirement account, like, oh, shiny thing, not long term.
Right.
This good for what I want? Is this going to be sustainable for me and my health? Is this something that I'm even going to tolerate for longer than 5 minutes in an interview? If the CEO or the boss or whatever winds up, you learn that he's a crazy person within the first interview, don't tolerate a second interview. That's easy to say now that I'm not a part of this, but that is something to write down and to put on like a little affirmation sticky note on your career vision board and just be like, I'm not going to tolerate that. I'm going to go look for a place where, yeah, I'm going to be accepted and I'm going to be able to do the job, but I'm not going to be screamed at the whole time.
So here's an action item that each of you can take on that. And anybody, I'm going to send this recording out later. So anybody who's listening, this is an action. If this is you, here's an action item that you can take. Take a piece of paper, or if you do it in Google Docs or wherever the heck makes you happy, make a list of what your non-negotiables are. I call them non-negotiables because these are the things that you're not willing to tolerate. The things that you won't take, it could be low pay, it could be somebody's temper, it could be something about the culture, anything. This list always looks different for every client. But make that list of non-negotiables and then stick with it. And I always say to put it down, whether you put it on a screen or whether you put it on paper, teach their own. Everybody's different. It's fine. Doesn't matter. But at least then you've got it in writing, right? You've got it down so that now you can hold yourself to it. If you just have it in your head, then one, you could either forget something, or two, then it's harder to hold yourself to that. Because now if you have it in a notebook or if you have it saved on your computer, you can open it up, you can look at it, and you can be like, oh, geez, look, I'm not going to, I said I wouldn't tolerate this. Now I can't tolerate this.
Okay.
Look at
You
me.
just
I'm
jogged my
letting my,
memory.
yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry, Valerie, but I just thought of a really good object lesson. I don't know if this is dating myself here, but back when I was attending university years and years ago, they used to sell in the bookstore these laminated charts to help you study for your exams. And they were super helpful. Every
Mhm.
time you had to study for something, or you had to follow a complex set of operations, you would just flip
Mhm.
open your laminated chart and you'd go down the list and see, oh, right, I have to make sure that I don't do this or I do that. To have your own version of your quick reference chart for your
Mm.
career goals might actually help you clarify more what it is exactly that your big goal is going to look like, and get
Mhm.
hyper specific as it
Mhm.
evolves. It doesn't have to
Mhm.
be right off the bat,
Mhm.
but if you keep adding to your list, your non-negotiables, it'll start to gain some clarity, and you'll have that. So it's no longer taking up space in your head. It's there in front of you, and you can look at it every time you need to just study for your career journey. It just seems like a really good idea.
I think so, because to me, the things that take up more mental space, then you know what I mean? When you clear them of that mental space, then you can make more space for other things that need to take up mental space.
Yeah.
Um, which I know sounds crazy, but there's so many things, right, that we deal with, not even just with the job search, but so many other things in life, right? Just so many things to take up that mental space. So clear it out, put it down, making, and then you can even get yourself, like Rachel said, clarify it, get more clear on the things that you need to get clear on. Make sure you're spending time talking to the right people. You don't want to be talking to people that you don't need to be talking to. So going back to that whole, LinkedIn premium thing, maybe if you look at those insights and they're not the right people, then maybe some of that needs to be refined because you're not getting the right people coming to your profile. So that some of that messaging needs to be changed. So you can get real crystal clear just by doing some really minor, I'll say easy, because this isn't relatively very high on the difficulty level. Really easy things. Sometimes it just takes something minor.
Well,
Yeah.
both what you're saying and what Tracy was saying about having that reference,
Hmm.
having something really clear in your
Uh-huh.
mind, it's spurring a question to me, which is,
Go ahead.
and this is almost like for a technique. And my question is, it's seeming to me that this could almost be used universally. So, and it's pretty simple. It's like, and I don't, I'm thinking, part of me think, well, maybe that's only true in the tech industry or blah, 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 right? But so I'll just throw it out there. So essentially it goes back to what we were saying, like, well, so you're talking to someone in the company. It's like, well, what do you guys really need? I mean, what's the breakthrough you need? Like, what is it? Can you tell me? I mean, to succeed, whether it's to hit your numbers regularly, to get an exit, get acquired, blah, blah, whatever it is, what do you need to succeed, right? And then I think that you need to follow that immediately with, well, first of all, I have to figure out if I think I can do it or not, right? Before I push any harder. But let's say I believe I can do it, then I'm going to say, do you think I can do this for you? And it's like, to me, the subject of this conversation should be you figuring out if you believe that I can do this. Because if this is what you actually need to do for your company to succeed or go to the next level, then what you really need to find out is if you believe that I can do it, right? And that's a fairly provocative stance to take.
It is because if they're willing to, whether or not they're willing to give you that feedback in the immediate, I don't know. Some may,
I
some
don't
may
need, right.
not. But I think kind of driving the question of what's the value you're looking for someone to add, and can I do that, is
Yeah.
really, really important.
Do you think I can do that for you?
Yep.
Because if you're not willing to engage on that, I don't know. Are they going to hire me anyway? No, probably not. Maybe.
Are they going to do 4 more interviews and waste time? I mean, I think it's really important to figure that out, right? Because otherwise,
It's
where's
too
this?
much
Yeah,
otherwise, I
yeah,
think.
it's too much. Where's it going? Where's it going? Are you just going to do a whole bunch of interviews that are dead ends?
Right.
Maybe, maybe. We don't know. We can't say because obviously not every situation looks the same. But is that possible? Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
Um, does that help you at all? I mean,
Yeah, well, for the meetings I know that I have coming up, I'm definitely going to ask those questions. I just feel like I would think they, it would stimulate them to have me ask those questions.
I
It
think you
would
should
make
try
me
it.
look,
It's-
I would think for them, they'd want someone like me to be asking those questions.
I think sometimes we need to show up and ask the hard questions. I hate to say it, right? But I
Yeah,
think that there's too much softball lobbing going on in this lately.
right.
And that's why
Right.
we're doing 6 interviews, and that's why we're doing too much time wasting. I talked to someone again yesterday who said to me, "Yeah, I've been in an interview process for like a year. Why are we
With
doing
one,
year long?"
with one company?
Yeah,
Who's got that much time? I mean, what are they
but
doing?
that's what I'm saying. And I said to him, I'm like, if people didn't have time or money to be in that for the long haul like that, you lose such great talent because people are going to take a role. People either can't afford to be out of work that long, or they're just going to get something else along the way. I mean, I hate to say it, for that amount of time, you're going to find something else. It's just it's a long period of time. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
that's a
Rachel.
long time. Um, as much as I personally just am curious, like, why does it take so long to do that? I was just thinking about what Paul was saying about how asking these questions is important for the interviewer to see that you're engaged and you're invested, and it's important for the interviewee to see that they're engaged and they're invested and they're not going to jerk you around for a year, which is great. But I mean, I've been working with Valerie for I don't know, a month now. She knows I can be a little bit hesitant when it comes to asking for exactly what I want. I'm sure Tracy's experienced this. Valerie's definitely experienced this. When women ask questions in interviews, we can kind of be brushed off often and just be like, oh, she's bossy. She's that person.
Mhm.
We don't want her on the team.
Yep.
How are we supposed to reach these goals and actually formulate these goals if we're too afraid to ask the questions? And if we aren't afraid to ask the questions, what about dealing with the negative consequences of not being anxious about it? It's rough. It's a tough question that I'm not sure I phrased correctly.
Yeah,
No,
you
you've
did. I mean, to me, you, as a woman applying or thinking of joining a firm, you better find out real fast whether you're going to be dealing with a bunch of guys who can't handle women. How about that?
Mhm.
I
I mean,
agree.
forget it.
I hate to
Like,
say it. If they can't handle the questions, right, and they don't want to give the answers, you're going
Mhm.
into the wrong place. Immediately, I say hit the exit
For
door.
all, and the reasons are all bad. I mean, yeah, the whole male dominant bullshit thing, it's horrendous. But the thing is, if that exists in a company, find out soon.
Yeah,
and
okay,
don't
that's fair.
go. I
Find
mean,
out soon.
Mhm.
That's where I say no holds barred. We have to stop being afraid to ask the tough questions and stop being afraid to ask the questions we need to ask and find out. And one of the biggest red flags that I think obviously, of course, we can see is no women in senior leadership,
yeah,
all white men,
Mhm.
right? When you see that,
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but my first instinct is run for the hills as fast as you can. Put on your sneakers, get out of there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it might just be that I've grown
No
up with
offense,
it and
Paul.
I just don't see too much of that. But I guess that could be a red flag.
I think it is
I
a
always
red
thought it
flag
was just
because
a random thing that happened. Like, oh, it just happens to
I
be a whole
think it's
bunch
a
of
red
guys on the
flag.
board. Like maybe
No
they're the only
offense,
people
Paul.
interested.
No offense, Paul. But I just
None.
think it's a red flag because then I think they're not
totally.
invested in women's futures
Mhm.
and they're not invested in advancing women. So how well are they doing that? Right? Are they doing that at all? If they don't take it seriously at all, then wrong place. Goodbye. Thanks. No
Yeah,
thanks.
then clearly none of them have ever sustained a meaningful relationship with a woman.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean,
True.
You're not wrong.
it isn't
Mm.
mysterious. This is not a mysterious process when you're with someone. It's like,
Mhm.
it's like, come on.
I mean, if you're gonna say that a female can't be as good of a salesperson as a male, or you're gonna say a woman can't be as good of an engineer as a male, or whatever profession you pick, you can name them all. That's, come on, Paul said the word. It's all BS. Come on,
Mhm.
none of that is true in 2024. I mean,
Weird.
to
This
me,
has never even crossed my mind until this conversation. It just suddenly like I didn't even consider looking at the demographics of the leadership. Never
absolutely.
considered it. I just thought, oh yeah, it's my job
Really
to
good point.
comply the entire time I'm in an interview, just so I
I
can.
haven't thought of it either. That's a great point.
That's
Just look,
Yeah.
and when I
Absolutely.
noticed the two that I looked at today were between a third and a half women in the leadership group.
Oh,
That's
good.
good though.
yeah.
That's a good thing. I hate to say it because
Well, why? Hello?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, nothing against men, but I think, I'm sorry, I think that we're coming away from this whole idea of all men in senior leadership. I don't think we need it. I
Mhm.
don't think that's the current state of affairs. I don't think it should be. And I don't think companies should be represented that way. And I think if that's what we're applying to, then we have to be understanding of that's what's going to be represented. That's what's going to be there. Those are the values they're going to have. That's the philosophies, their mission, all of that is going to be carried out. So we can't be stupid and unwilling to know that these are the things that's going to happen. They won't advance women as fast. They won't consider even probably. It's sad, but we sound like we're talking about 1975, but you know what? No, not really. So we have to consider these things. And so maybe it's not the place for you. Because then you also, and this goes again to the non-negotiables. What are the values you're looking for in a company? Is there a specific mission you want them to have? Is there something they do, maybe like, charity in the community or something, right, that you want them to carry out? Is there something specific that you are looking for? But if it's not in their senior leadership and not in their demographics, it's not going to be in their values.
That's a really good point. Because it is so basic.
It really is.
It
But it's
either is,
something we
it's
forget.
either there or not.
Yeah. It's something that we forget because we get so caught up in, I want the role, I need a job. You know what I mean? I got to ace this interview. And we get into that mindset. What's my goal? Right? I got to fix my resume. I got to, you know what I mean? We get so caught up into the strategic stuff that's where our brain goes. But we don't think about these other things. We have to.
Like, who do I have to be to get that job when
Yeah.
really you really want a job where you can show up and be your best self and give
Bingo.
all that you could possibly give to them.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to find somebody that is open to that type of communication. And, I think everybody should come to a table and spitball ideas and be open to everybody else's feedback on those ideas. It
Yeah.
works in this situation or it doesn't. And here's the business reasons why, not just the I don't want to listen to you, you haven't been here that long, not the you're a girl thing. Like, I have a background in construction and I worked in a hardware store for a long time. I all day long listen to you can't possibly know the answer to that. I'm like, all right, well, I'll come over and fix your toilet if it makes you feel better, but that's it's really not, you know. And train my coworkers in those instances to say exactly what I just said, but in a male voice. And then makes the customer be like, oh, she did know that answer. But that's not really part of my job either, educating the people around me. But
Well, and
you have to,
the
yeah.
track records of female CEOs and heads of state are much better than males. Always.
Uh-huh.
So
And I think voices from both sides,
yeah.
Just be open to everybody's ideas.
And that's the
It doesn't
thing,
have to
right?
be all about women. I think it should be, but it doesn't have to be. I'm a single mom. I raised two strong, independent daughters. That's great. I want them to go out and find roles in this world that they're satisfied with. Be a
And
better
that's-
place.
Yeah. And I think, you know, that's what we have to remember, right? If we can all think about equality in the sense that you have a place, I have a place, you have a place, I have a, right? Everyone has a place. There
Mhm.
is room for all of us. There is room
Right.
for every single one of our ideas. And like you said, listen to the feedback. Not every idea is a great idea. That's okay.
It's not. Mhm.
But not every idea was meant to be a great idea either.
Right.
But sometimes, you know, not every idea is a great idea, but with some feedback, you can make it a better idea.
Right. Well, how do you adapt it to what this company needs instead of just throwing it out because it's not the perfect idea coming off? No, it's a process.
Exactly. And
Figuring out, you know.
sometimes you need, right? You need people around you for that.
Mhm.
But that's where having a great team is important.
Yeah, I agree.
So these things, I mean, they don't come in little small pieces, right? We have to consider a lot of things. So I encourage you all to, you know, just continue. Think about your big goals, think about your small goals. Think about your non-negotiables. Think about the messy stuff in between. I hate to say it, but sometimes we have to.
Mhm.
Sometimes we have to think about our mindset. Sometimes we have to think about journaling. Sometimes we have to think about all this stuff. Because if we get so caught up in the technical pieces, we are missing things.
Mhm.
Yep.
You know, look at their website. What do their values say? And then go
Mhm.
look at their senior leadership team. And do you think it's a bunch of BS? And if your gut says yes, maybe you don't want to do that interview. Or maybe you do just for shits and giggles and figure it out.
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm not going to judge you if you do. Go ahead, do it. Yeah, we can do anything we want in our life once. Go ahead. Figure it out. See if they're full of it or not.
Yep. Yeah, and that example I used earlier, I was fortunate that they had been through so many people in that position that they finally decided to be honest up front before they hired another person and invested in training for them to almost get hit with a stapler and quit on like day 5. And, you know, at least I was able to make an educated decision. Usually you get there and then you find out that the president's crazy. I mean, eccentric. Um, so it was just an interesting, an interesting process that I stumbled into.
Somebody threw you know what? Actually, I had a boss who used to throw, not a stapler, it was a pack of stamps. He used to throw them across the room at me.
Yep.
I was like, do you have stamps? And I was like, do you really have to throw them at me?
Yeah. I've been in some interesting like cultures as far as, you know, how to run a business and whatever.
Oh,
And, you know, I'm pretty like laid back. Like I can, you want to be loud, I'll be loud. You want me to be quiet, I can be quiet. It hurts to be quiet, but I can be quiet. Um,
I can
yeah,
tolerate a lot of
it's
things
funny.
too, but then I hit a breaking point, and to my breaking point is when people start screaming at each other.
Mm, yeah, like that shouldn't happen.
Hmm. Once that
And
started to happen, that's when I was like, exit door,
mhm,
exit door now. I
yep,
mean,
yep,
I would, yeah, no,
yeah,
no,
yeah, you
it's
gotta go
not,
one.
yeah, that's a breaking point for me. I can't tolerate that. Rachel, did you have
Yeah,
a question? Okay, I thought I saw your hand. I'm sorry. Do you have any more questions at all? Rachel, do you have any more questions at all? No? Okay. Tracy, do you have any?
no, I
No?
think I'm okay.
What about you, Paul? Do you have more questions? We
No,
have a couple more minutes.
I think this conversation has helped me form a couple of ideas that I want to try. I'm going to try this afternoon in a call.
Good.
I'm just going to ask those questions.
Hmm.
It happens to be, it's a bit of a layup because I think the company in question is in a weak position. So I'm going to ask those questions.
I mean, I would rather see you interview with a company that's not in a weak position, but
Right,
it is
right.
what it is right now. Vet it out and then clear the space for something better.
Yeah. Right.
That's all you
No,
can
this
do.
has been, so this has helped me crystallize that thinking for
Good,
sure, this session. And I had no idea what to expect today.
good,
So,
good.
thank you. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. Rachel saying
yeah.
best of luck.
All
Good
right.
luck. We're all counting on you, Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Keep me
So
posted, Paul. Let me
Valerie,
know how.
when's the next one?
Hmm.
Maybe I'll do one next month.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
How's
this
that?
is good.
This month is just about over, so I can't do another one this month.
All right. Okay,
How about next
We'll
month?
see
You
that
guys,
we-
you
we-
guys seem to like this.
we'll see the email.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, Paul, wherever you land, if you need an admin, keep me in mind.
Thank you. That's very sweet. I appreciate
And
it.
if you need a
Thank you.
graphic designer, I have Rachel in mind.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay,
You can run a half of an office like this.
yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thank you,
All
guys.
right, very good. All right, thank you. Have a great
Okay,
day,
bye
You're
now.
everybody.
welcome.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Valerie.
You're very welcome. If you have any other questions, just let me know, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
You're very welcome.
Good luck, Rachel.
I think your connection's unstable.
I believe so.